Well, good morning, everybody, and hope you're all having a lovely day so far. Welcome to today's live. I am just making sure all the settings and everything, all the right boxes are ticked. There we go. So today's training is going to address your personal values, how you can connect with them, and how that can help you to live a more authentic life and experience less stress, but more importantly, more peace, more joy, more everything else that you would want to include in your life. So my name is Debbie. I am a clinical hypnotherapist and eye movement therapist, and within hypnotherapy I cover so many areas. I get requests for lots of different things, but I'm really passionate about helping to support people to effectively deal with and manage stress, both day to day and in the long term as well. And a lot of the time when I see people, they are almost at breaking point. Hypnotherapy is still a last resort for a lot of people, but it actually has huge success rates. It has very few side effects, and it's a relatively quick therapy. So it's actually very wonderful. It's got so many benefits as well, and you can do more than one thing at one time. And so that's why I love it. So I work with people when they're ready to make a change. If you're simply just becoming aware of something, it's really good to have a good think about it, maybe look at areas of your life that you think you could improve on. But when you get to the point where maybe you tried something and you are serious about change, that's when you get the best outcomes. But today I'm excited to talk about these fundamental values because it's a really important basis to our own well-being and our personal growth. And we'll be exploring why it's really important, what values actually are, how you can connect with your own values, and I'll post some things in the group afterwards which will really help you with that. And we'll touch on what can start happening when you begin to consider what you would like more of, what you would like less of, and the steps that you can take towards it. So today's call is probably more of a coaching call, more of a mindset call than a therapeutic call. So our values help us to stay really grounded during challenging times. They remind us of who we truly are and what's important to us. And you'll probably notice when you dig a little deeper that there are things that you have a draw to, or that you already know is important to you. And so some things that I know that are really important to me is inner peace. I know that I don't function well if I'm feeling really highly strung and stressed out and if I've not had enough sleep. So for me, inner peace is really, really important. But values are very deeply held principles that influence our behaviours and our decisions. And they represent to us what's important in our life. And again, there are so many values, and it's really, really normal to have different values to your friends, your colleagues, even your family members and significant others. So some examples of values would be things like honesty, fairness, freedom, love, and creativity as well can be things like that, success, kindness, and so on. So they're things that you would recognise and notice within other people and within other contexts. Everyone's values are unique to them, and it's really important to remember and to know that they can change over time. And actually that's a really great thing about values, is that they can change, and things that weren't as important to you before can become important, and things that were important before, they can also change and adapt as well. But so I'll post the visual, it's called a values wheel, I'll post this visual in the group afterwards. It can really show us the different areas and some of the different things that we can begin to look at, begin to analyse and decide where we're doing really well and where we want to focus next. So some of the main areas for values would be personal growth, relationships, professional working relationships, careers, leisure. For some people it's adventurousness and families, but there are overarching themes, and within each theme there are lots of different things that you can look at. But it helps us to see the broader picture in life, and it helps us to recognise and some of the diverse aspects of our life that really play a crucial role in some of our decisions that can be made subconsciously. But knowing what you value is really about knowing yourself and what you stand for, and not having to double check with other people all the time, but having clarification on who you are, what's important to you, that will help you to make the best decisions. It will help you to make the best priorities. It'll help you to manage some of the stresses that you occur in daily life. It also gives us strength against things like social media and the influence of pop culture news, because if we already know what's important to us, we're less likely to be heavily impacted by some other things that we might come across. And I know the news varies. There's lots of really positive things in news sometimes. There's lots of quite scary things and quite upsetting things as well. But connecting back to ourselves and remembering what's important to us and how we choose to live our life is a really, really useful way to ground yourself. So some of the ways that you can begin to connect to your values are just by doing really short, simple exercises. So you can simply reflect, take a moment to think about times in your life when you've been truly happy and fulfilled. And it can be in different contexts. It can be in your personal life, it can be with relationships, it can be when you've been on your own, it can be within professional settings. But what was it about that particular time that made you feel really good? What were you honouring during those moments that were really good for you? You can simply look up on the internet, so you can use the materials that I'm going to post. There's so many materials out there. You can simply just look at them, read a list of them on the internet and see which ones you connect with more. And it's very normal as well to read them and think, oh, that's not important to me at all. That's also very normal. But when you've had a look at them, try to narrow down your top 5 or 6. If you choose more than that, it's going to be really difficult to make meaningful change and to see progress. But narrowing it down to the top 5 or 6, and then looking at which ones are the most important to you. So narrow it down and then narrow it down even further. Then you can begin to look at your daily life. So you can look at the different habits that you have, the different behaviours that you have, the different commitments that you have, and start to think, are your actions in line with those values? Do you make behaviour changes in line with those values? Do you take action towards achieving things within those areas? And you might be surprised that lots of things you're already doing are really great and a really big step forwards in that direction. But you also might find that you've been doing some things maybe because you felt you had to, and that can be because of work commitments. It can be sometimes just society and family pressures. But you may begin to recognise areas where you think, actually, I don't want to do that anymore. So it's a really, really useful tool for change. Another one you can do is begin to reflect on how you're living within your values by journaling and things like that. So beginning to just write down some of your thoughts about them. For some people who already have a really strong connection to their sense of self and their values, you might find some of these tasks easier. If you've never done anything like this before, again, it's totally fine. But you might find that you don't always have a feeling or a sense of what the right answer is straight away. That's also totally fine. And so some questions that you can simply ask yourself are, how would you define this value and why is it important to you? How does this show up in your life right now? What is challenging you about living within this value right now? And what can you do to more fully live in alignment with this value? So just 4 questions, but 4 useful questions that you can journal on and begin to think about. But living in line with your values is a practice of patience, because inevitably there will be times and things and situations which are completely out of our control. And all we have to do and all we can do then is make the best decisions for us. So it's not about perfection. It's about small decisions, big decisions with short-term goals and long-term goals that will really help to improve the quality of your life, in particular within the areas that you're choosing the values. So something to think about right now is, if you started living more in alignment with your values, how would your life change? How would it change today or tomorrow or next week or next month? And if you made some small changes over the next 6 months, what would your life look like next year? So it doesn't always have to be really big, meaningful actions that have a definite impact straight away. Sometimes it's just really small changes that add up over time. But you may find that your decision making becomes easier and clearer because you have less variables, because you're simply considering less. You'll be more connected to your values and what you want to achieve. But you'll likely experience a deeper sense of fulfillment and contentment in life because you're acting in alignment with who you want to be and what is important to you. You might find things like relationships with other people and to yourself also improve and become more authentic. But like I said, it doesn't mean that life is suddenly going to be perfect or without challenges, because that is just the nature of life. But it does mean that you'll probably begin to handle those challenges in a way that is true to who you are, is maybe more productive and within more alignment, so that when you do come across challenging situations, you have more of an innate or an intuitive sense of knowing about how you can approach it, how you can begin to solve the problem, but also not sacrifice your own inner peace and calm at the same time. So I will post the values wheel in the group in one of the PDF folders, and I will post those journal questions for you as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this live training. Let me know in the comments what some of your values currently are, and if after looking at the PDF you do find some more things that are important to you.